Hugh McDonald, CEO of Entergy Arkansas, joins me for a conversation about the recent winter storms. Hugh, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. I know you guys have been busy. I know you got a lot of things going on. I appreciate your time.
Good to be with you, Roby.
Let's talk about the response to the storms that Entergy had. How would you grade your performance? Did you get an A? Did you get a C? Did you get a failing grade?
Well, I think we're tough on ourselves. I've never looked at it in that way, but maybe I'd give us a B. There's always opportunity for improvement. This storm is no different, but this was a major storm. Every storm is a little different. A lot of people might compare this to 2000, where there was a lot of customers out. This is similar, but there are definitely differences with this storm as well.
Tell me where you think that you guys did perform very well, where you do think there was room for improvement.
Well, I think overall we got the lights on for all but a little less than 1,000 customers in 6 days. For a storm of this magnitude, when we brought the customers in, or when we brought our crews in, I really do think that was a really pretty good job based on, past storms and how we measured that. I think another thing that we did a fairly good job in, it was really our first opportunity to talk to our customers via social media. This was our first storm really under first major storm under a social media type event.
Yeah. And in some respects, because that was the only way people could communicate, is they didn't have television or necessarily radio to be able to understand what was going on, or for you guys to hear what was going on. So their smartphones and smart devices were it.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
How did it play out?
Well, it's I guess if you were one of those customers that had been out for 4, 5, and 6 days, maybe not so well. But I guess from our perspective, we learned a lot in that process. Our market research tells us our customers want to hear from us. They want information. They want as much information as we can give them. And we've got a really pretty neat device that you can get on our website, and it's the View Outages device. Mm-hmm. And you can see your address and the street you live on, and whether or not your circuit's red means the circuit's off, or green means it's on. And that tool we found out by customers who actually came in to our in-person customer information center. Customers of all socioeconomic classes had been on that website to view that tool, which I think it's really pretty neat, but it makes us think about how are we going to change that, how are we going to improve that the next time, what's the next layer of technology that we can attach to be more interactive with our customers.
Very easy to Monday morning quarterback things and say you could have been more prepared, but there really was not an expectation that the storm might be as hard as it was, and there were some circumstances, the wet snow, the ice compounded with the high winds. I've heard you talk about that. When you see another storm materializing like this in the future, because this one was so extraordinary, do you guys plan on taking some, additional steps in the future? How do you plan for this going forward?
Yeah. We always try to be conservative. I mean, we base our restoration planning decisions based on the weather forecast. And you're right, this was, I think, more significant than most folks expected, but we will certainly evaluate that going forward. Every one of these storms, we always do a lessons learned, and we will look at this as well to see what should we do differently next time.
What do you do with the lessons learned, though? What have you done in the past that you can kind of point to and say, we figured out this was something that we didn't do very well last time, we need to do this next time in a better way?
For example, unfortunately we get a lot of practice at this, whether it's Hurricanes Katrina and Rita in the south, or major ice storms in the north and tornadoes in between. For example, one of the things that we've done is we've implemented a incident command center storm structure on an overall Entergy system level, and what they can do to assist us at the operating company level in Arkansas or Louisiana or Mississippi is they can go acquire those resources quicker than we can while we're assessing the activity at the local level. So they've been very helpful in terms of, that's one of the changes we've made over the past 10 years, to look at it from a system perspective and really pull in all of our system resources, not just the other linemen that we have in Louisiana, but also some of our professional staff that can also help in logistics, working with our mutual assistance partners, other utilities across the country.
I saw trucks from Wisconsin and North Carolina and Texas and places like that. How does How do all those people get here that quickly? I mean, is that something that you guys are setting on go? Is there an emergency plan for that to happen, or you just start calling once you see the depth and the magnitude of what you have to do?
All the utilities in the country are part of a mutual assistance agreement. In other words, all these agreements and contracts are already established between us, and we all watch the weather, and when one of us is in need, we call a meeting. For example, all of the utilities in the Southeastern Electric Exchange, there's about 15 or 16 utilities in that. So we called conference calls and brought all those resources to bear based on the weather, based on the number of outages that we saw and what we were forecasting. You can mobilize resources very quickly, not only just those other utilities, but contractors that work for the other utilities as well.
A question for customers now particularly the ones who are without power for perhaps as long as 7 or 8 days, maybe even longer than that. Does anybody get a credit on their electricity bill because of the outage?
Unfortunately, no credits.
No.
Your meter stops for that period of time, but we don't provide credits.
All right. Well, you're not going to be popular with that decision. A question that I think has been going on for several decades. This is a conversation that has taken place in utility circles for a while, and it deals with burying electrical lines. There's been a lot of talk about it this time around. There was so much damage that was done. Is it time to restart that conversation? Kind of where does that debate stand in today's energy environment?
Yeah. After every major storm, whether it's a hurricane in the south or up in the east coast, after Sandy, it was talked about. The issue of undergrounding more lines is the topic, and there's pros and cons of each, and customers need to understand what the pros are. One of the pros is lights don't go out as much. One of the cons, however, is when the lights do go out, you're typically out a little longer because it's more difficult to locate and find the repair. It's also much more expensive. There's been studies done by commissions, regulators in North Carolina, Florida, Maryland, Australia, to look at whether or not this is cost beneficial. Mm-hmm. Every one of those studies, the regulators have concluded that the costs don't outweigh the benefits.
But is it in the long run, though, could it be less expensive because you don't have as much outages or repair to do? I mean, how do they kind of evaluate that dynamically?
Well, just in terms of the rate impact to customers, one of those studies said that rates would go up 80%. Another study said the rates would go up 125%. It'd be about a $3,500 cost impact to customers per year. And just that upfront cost alone and that annual cost going forward, those regulators in those jurisdictions concluded that it didn't make sense. Now, in new neighborhoods, we pretty much underground all the new underground lines in new neighborhoods.
And why is that?
It's just aesthetically more pleasing. That's one reason, but that's sort of the common practice in the business today. Out in the rural areas, though, it's still more overhead. Mm-hmm.
So there's no conversation right now about doing that at this point in time. That would not be a debate that you'd see going forward in Arkansas.
I wouldn't say it wouldn't be a debate, and we may be requested or required to do the appropriate studies with various parties' input. But I'm just saying that the analyses that have been done before. That has been the common conclusion. All
right, I'll give you a last chance here to pitch where customers should contact you if they have any more questions or concerns.
Just call 1-800-ENTERGY or 1-800-9-OUTAGE, and you can get a hold of us, and we'll take care of it for you.
All right, he is Hugh McDonald. He's the CEO of Entergy Arkansas. Thank you so much for being here.